So good afternoon, all of you, and welcome back. My name is Atul Kadilkar. What we are going to have today is you must have seen a lot of hackathon teams out there. We are going to have some feedback coming from our investors as well as we have team leads who are part of that particular team. So we are going to have much more of interactive section amongst us and really get to know from our friends out there, investment investors as well as us people who work very closely, the whole feedback on how the whole hackathon really went. So warm welcome to all of you, and with me are Abhishek Kumar and then Vishal Pai. Vishal Pai has been our team lead. Abhishek has been from the investor team. Then we have with us Priya Rohira and then Samir Gano as another team. So Abhishek and Vishal were actually working on blockchain for smart contracts and the eKYC part. And then Priya was actually with Samir on analytics of unstructured data, right? And then we have with us Pranav Kshatriya and Santosh Sharabgaraj, and they were working on building digital economy by going cashless. And then we have Shashi Bhushan and then Nitin Mahapath, who are basically working on social media sentiment analytics. So good. I think quickly to go through across the teams, like to really get some feedback from you. Okay, number one, what has been the problem statement you have been trying to address, and what has been your feedback and your interaction in the whole process, Abhishek?
I'll let Vishal give the problem statement. I'll just give you my feedback. I think I was very scared, to begin with, when I was given this task, and I chose blockchain. I didn't know what we were supposed to do by then. So in my first conversation, when I asked my team what are going to achieve at the end of the whole thing, so they said in a very nonchalant manner that we will make an app on blockchain, you know. So I was extremely scared because I knew nothing about blockchain by then. But at least that gave me a reason to read up on the subject. We had a lot of interaction back and forth with the team. They also helped me, so we validated the ideas. And then I think the experience overall has been very educative one. So I think I'm pretty happy at the end of it all.
Yeah, I mean, in the first conversation, I like to thank Anukul and Rashmi for that, setting it up in the right way. And then we started talking to Abhishek, and Abhishek was like, "Okay, I have researched on blockchain for about 7 days," and we were like, "Okay, well, that's good." I mean, and we were also new to blockchain, and so we were also a bit scared. But then I think Abhishek also calmed us down, and then he said, "Okay, let's form a WhatsApp group." And we were on WhatsApp discussing with him about the use cases, and that's how the two use cases came about. So I'll thank Abhishek for the use cases as well. So the two problems that we tried to solve, one is smart contract based on blockchain. So here what you have is so hospitals want to reduce the admission rate of the patients, right? So that's how in US they would earn money. Is they don't want patients to come to the hospitals. So what they do is they select a group of patients and say that we'll take extra care of them so that they don't get readmitted, right? So these patients are part of something called as a care plan, and there are coaches and care managers who take care of the patient. Now, the example care plan that we took was a care plan where the patient has to walk for 30 minutes every day. And let's say the care plan is for 30 days. Now, the patient, if the patient walks for 30 minutes every day, let's say for 10 days, then the patient gets reward points of, let's say, 100. And if he does the entire thing in a nice manner, right, then he gets, let's say, 500 points. And what those 500 points mean is reduction in doctor fees for the patient or reduction in the insurance claims that he makes, right? So this is a smart contract between the patient, between the doctors, that's the provider, and between the insurance company. Now, smart contract is a contract that is executed programmatically. So typical traditional contracts happen in a way that two parties would sign the agreement, but if something goes wrong, then you have to go to the third party to fight it out, right? So a smart contract is where the contract is codified and executes programmatically. That was our first use case. The second use case was on identity and blockchain. So here we chose KYC as the use case. So today what happens is you go to a bank, right? And you are the first customer. So the bank says, okay, I need KYC. So what you do is, okay, fill up some form and then submit it to the bank. And then the bank will do something on their own and says, okay, done, right? So you're the customer. Now you want to go to another bank. Let's say you want a home loan, right? The bank says, okay, first time customer, okay, yes, KYC. Fill in a form, submit that form to the bank. The bank does similar things, right? And says, okay, done, right? So a lot of effort is wasted, both from the customer side, both from the bank side as well. So in this case, what we do is only first time the KYC is done, and later when you go to the different institution, right, the same information in the blockchain is used to verify the customer. Those are the two problems we worked on.
Mm-hmm. And what about your experience, Priya? What has been your interaction, your feedback? Obviously, you were engaged very closely. We saw with the team. How was it? Did you find what you expected? It really was there. You and how was the whole interaction with the team?
So I think one, the team was very interactive in terms of understanding what was the user requirements. More importantly, I think what happened was we had one or two sessions before just to understand what could unstructured data be converted into a meaningful decision making tool. So I think the group did a good effort in terms of analyzing. I mean, what I understand that there were some 400 articles being channelized to come to a meaningful decision making. Metrics like volumes of pricing, which is important in our industry more from a point of view of portfolio management. We had two case studies on Bajaj Auto and ICICI Bank, and I think what was useful is basically boiling it down to just 1 minute decision taking tool. It saved a lot of effort in terms of us maybe scanning a couple of articles, filtering it down to whether it is positive or negative. I mean, he could add more.
I'll talk about the problem that we tried to solve. So basically, the solution is for the fund managers. Portfolio, there are multiple stocks, and you have to go through a lot of news articles to make some sense out of it. That is a time-consuming process. So what we did with IBM Watson platform is go through this Watson. We let the Watson go through the news article, try to capture meaningful information out of it, and bucket the news into three categories: positive, negative, and neutral, so that the scope of reading is limited. And with I'll not say split second, but with limited time, you can make a decision on whether you want to hold on to that stock or make any changes to it. So that's basically the problem that we try to solve.
Okay, good. And your experience, Bruno, did you expect whatever you wanted to do in the time span? How has been your experience?
I think the problem was very relevant, and I've been looking at this problem for a while. So, digital payments is one of the key concern, and a lot of people have spent a lot of time on this. So, actually, I think the problem was quite involving, and the team does have great insights into it, and they really came out with a very authentic and unique solution of taking the control of the payment from the merchant machine to customer machine, which I think takes away a lot of security issues with that. So it was a very nice working with a and what helped me most was basically you can think how at times what can be the restriction and how you can integrate certain things. You cannot integrate everything because there are certain challenges which are technological business challenges. So yeah, it's a very good experience, I must say. I think you will elaborate on the problem.
Basically, the problem statements have been many, and we try to integrate three or four of them into this particular solution. So one of the thing is on the payment journey itself, on how to eliminate security issues while accepting payments, and how do we get the bill from the merchant onto the customer's machine through the digital way. And also, how can we give credit in real time So the merchants are really struggle. The merchants as well as the banks really struggle with selling goods, or the banks struggle to give credit in real time. So that is another thing that we sort of managed it. And the third thing is, when you are making payments to a particular merchant, if you don't have funds in a particular instrument, then it becomes difficult for you to choose anything else. So what you have done through this solution is also the ability to split your payments across multiple products that you have either with that bank, or you can use it as an aggregator, and you can make these payments across your products that you have, right? So these are multiple things we try to integrate into this one solution using this particular app.
What about you?
Okay, so when Anand in the morning said that there is no negative surprise, he underestimated the power of the word Modi to conduct surgical strike. So I am filling in for my good friend Sandeep Mutangi. We are doing social media impact of demonetization, that whether it was positive or negative, analyzing all the tweets that has been made across the country. And I was surprised the amount of hard work that has team put across in such a short interval. And I think in 1 week they have analyzed some 13,000 tweet and categorized them in positive and negative based on different weights assigned to the word. So the kind of detailing was simply amazing. And I was simply positively surprised by the team. For the problem statement, I will hand it over to Nitin.
So I'm interacting with Sandeep from IFL since weekend. Then he was focusing more on, can I use open source rather than any branded library for analytics? And then he said, gradually, can we move it to the prediction part of it? Can I say, if I make some sort of decision in future, what is going to be impact on other industry and the verticals? And that's what we try to showcase with the open source here.
So another maybe follow-up question to you, Priya. Do you find this kind of a technique of actually doing hackathon could be relevant even in your sector, whatever work you are doing? So this is much more from, we keep on saying we have different customers, but if you really look from your perspective, your business, do you feel this technique could be useful to really unearth a lot of stuff what you want to do? Here, you possibly have the mic out there.
More importantly, it actually scanned through a couple of things to make it more meaningful. And I think apart from what we spoke, I think there were a lot of relevant competitive parameters which could be analyzed. So it was just not a standalone on a particular stock, but it was more a comparative, a global comparison was laid out, more across within the sectors which was laid out. So I think I felt it was more like something which should be there on my palm top, and I can just get up and access it any moment I wanted to. So it was pretty useful, and the best part was it had analyzed it and then given a conclusion onto it.
And maybe follow-up question to you, Abhishek. Do you, in the whole interaction of hackathon, did you anytime find that somebody needs deep domain knowledge, deep understanding, deep business knowledge to really make out something out of it, or you can take some problem statement, quickly understand and move forward?
In my 1 week of research on blockchain, I think the field itself is so new. I read somewhere that blockchain is an answer looking for a problem. So none of us have that kind of domain understanding. We were all juggling with a lot of ideas, whether this is a smart case, this is a use case or not. Of course, they also needed some validation. I also had some ideas which they shot down, a lot of them. They incorporated a few of it. So yes, I mean, it was a much more collaborative approach, because I think it is still evolving, the whole concept as well as the technology.
Maybe coming back to you, Shashi, in the whole sentiment analytics, what you did, what you expected versus what you saw, did you find that you came with the different expectations and what people actually got out from whatever that window we worked, right, for whatever 7, 8 months. Sorry, 7, 8 hours.
Yeah. In 7, 8 days, I know in terms of achievement, a state-wise analysis, vertical-wise analysis, profile-wise analysis of tweets, all those things were pretty good. Was a big positive surprise for me. And given the fact that Twitter allows only 100 tweets to be analyzed on per day basis, and they have analyzed 13,000. Obviously, given the time, if the time permits, they would have done a time series analysis, how the sentiment would have changed. The same software can be used. Nitin was telling me that this software can be extended to do study on the various other policies of the government. How say GST would have sentiments across the country, in a similar fashion. And this can be extended to study on blogs, LinkedIn, Facebook. The same software can be extended with little bit of more tweaking. And you can do a complete linguistic and lexical analysis as well using the same software. So the amount of detailing that has gone through in this building this software and this application was simply amazing. I was definitely surprised by the detailing they had in just 6, 7 days.
And maybe one passing on to Pranav, you all have been tracking along with IT, maybe other enterprises as well, right? And along with the whole cashless economy and areas what we work with, how do you find it is relevant even to the changing enterprises which are there? The whole technique of hackathon what we did. So because we do it on a regular basis in different areas. Really another problem for the customers try to understand as we keep on saying software 4.0 or other areas.
Yeah, I would say that Hackathon is a really a nice platform because it actually mixes a lot of team member across the hierarchy, different knowledge domain, and can really find very interesting solutions and can really give out very interesting ideas. How we actually put them together would actually decide how successful it becomes. So I think it's a very very interesting concept, and actually for ideation, I think it's a brilliant concept. Execution, not so sure because I think for there we need to have a hierarchical setup with somebody taking some responsibility and all that. So that's my take.
Okay. I know we have to be cognizant of the time, so maybe any quick closing comments from all of you? One liner.
My closing comment would be, I think if I was a client, I would definitely have been impressed. All these guys learned about blockchain in just 2 days. And for them to be able to absorb the concept, understand the technology, and execute it within 6, 7 hours speaks a lot about the skill set of the people here at Persistent.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I would like to thank Abhishek for calming us down, guiding us through the use cases. And I would like to thank the team, right, who learned all of this so quickly and put together two apps. So that was good. And then I'll also thank Anukul for setting this up, and also Rashmi for again setting it up. I mean, doing all the high level thing, right? So, yeah, thanks to all.
I think what I liked about the team was, while they came from a technology background, a technology edge, I didn't feel any lack of any vertical, or industry understanding, which was the best because they enabled me to take a decision without them having any domain knowledge, and it was pretty prompt. So I think the edge was more in terms of the format, the without any vertical understanding. So
So I would like to thank Priya for all the inputs that she had provided. I'd like to thank the team. Busy through 2 weeks to prepare. First of all, understand what exactly is the problem that we are trying to solve, limit the scope, and achieve whatever we had decided within 9 hours. So finally do it with the successful POC. Thanks a lot.
I would like to thank the team. It was very interesting, working with all of them, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Pranav, for your support on this. So one of the things I liked about this is the fact that you get a validation from the industry itself, saying that what you're doing is actually, the solutions that you're making is actually practical in the real world. So that validation is very important because techies can think of a lot of things, and whether you really practice, it can be implemented in the real world is another thing. And as personally, it was like, for me, I've been in the industry for around 25 years, and I mean, trained in the SDLC waterfall method of working, and suddenly you come into the hackathon way where it's everything is, it's like moving from test cricket to playing T20. So that was quite interesting for me.
This kind of software, social media impact on the overall economy, overall political impact cannot be underestimated these days. We have seen it in India, we have seen it in the US. So definitely, these kind of applications will find great use even on the corporate side. If they are launching a new product, how the product is received, what people think about it. So these kind of applications can be taken to them proactively and said that, we can do a social media analysis for that. I think that speaks a volume. Without knowing the actual problem, you can take some of these use cases and present it in front of company. I think they will be deeply impressed by the work and the team here at Persistent.
Thank you, Shashi, and thanks, team.
So I think cognizant of time, we're just going to wrap up. But thank you to all of you, and we as an organization keep on doing different things and keep on doing things differently. Okay, so that is what we actually wanted to give an experience for our people. And thank you to all of you for being party to the whole exercise what we did. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I request all of you to please stay on the stage. I request Atul to give a small gift to all the investors who participated in the hackathon and helped our teams to come out with the solution. So thank you, all of you. Abhishek Kumar from JM Financial. Thank you, Abhishek. Priya Rohira from Axis Capital. Thank you, Priya. Pranav Kshatriya from Edelweiss. Thank you, Pranav.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And Shashi Bhushan from IDFC Securities. Thank you very much, Shashi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, actually, I hope that actually the demos were very knowledge enhancing for you. And we would like you to give some feedback on the demos, what you experienced in the demos, how did you find demos, etc. And I would like to call upon stage Munjay to coordinate this session. I would like to call upon stage some investors to talk about the demos. So maybe Nimit, could you come on stage? Sagar from Motilal Oswal. Akshay from Fidelity. Yes. Urmil from IDBI Capital.
Like there is a
Anybody who would like to join voluntarily?
yeah.
Yeah, Vishal from Axis. Would you please? Thank you.
Anybody else you call? That's all?
Yeah, that's all.
Hi, so good afternoon, everybody. So, Nicole, do you have a list of who will talk about which session, or it's just open? Okay. So we had like 5 demos, right? So I thought last time we had a format where we had people signed up to talk about specific session. Maybe we can start from any order. I don't know which order. Maybe we can start from that end. Is there any specific session that you want to talk about that you attended? If you can share your thoughts about what you've seen and what you experienced and you want to share that.
I attended the blockchain session. What I found most interesting were a couple of examples where they took us through the whole the farm equipment or farm vending example, in which they said that each of these people are supposed to maintain individual ledgers, and that is where the fudging can actually happen in terms of the data, which a trader might actually be very important for him to know. So in that they mentioned about how a unified ledger can be maintained, which can be shared across all the people in the supply chain. Uh, but the part which I didn't kind of understand, which they clarified later, is that this not only does this work as a regulatory or a compliance bit of auditing kind of a system, but on top of that, you can obviously have additional layers where if there is a irregularity, like if it's not been met by the certain specifications, you can actually route it back to another vendor and get it done. So that was one of the sessions which I thought was nice. The second bit which they also spoke about in blockchain was how if you are a national from supposing America, you are using a cab service in probably France or somewhere, you're carrying dollars, but through the Ripple's currency, like how Bitcoin is there, you can actually pay it in dollars, but you're actually in France, you're paying it through euros. So it was pretty interesting in terms of how you don't actually need to you carry foreign currency wherever you're traveling, but it just happens seamlessly at that point in time.
I'll speak about the machine learning session. So, think that this is a one thing which can be clearly across sectors, and the most interesting part is it is exactly opposite of what is software development. You tell the outcome, and then through continuous learning, you will come to know the process to it. So there were very interesting stuff which were there, and in fact, Anand should look at the kind of change in of the pictures which were showed to us. So, interesting, and think that this can be applied across various sectors, and given our engagement with the clients, could be scaled up.
A lot of effort is spent in training the machine, so maybe we'll see more people training the machine than the machine.
So I attended the one on IBM Watson IoT, and this deal has been in the limelight ever since it has been signed, been talked about a lot by the management, by investors as well. But being from a non-tech background, I've never studied technology, not worked in a tech company. It's always been difficult for me to understand what goes behind it and what actually the deal implies. But I think this session clarified a lot of those things for me here. And it's indeed good to know that Persistent is probably the sole developer or the sole partner in the development team here. It really speaks volumes about Persistent's importance in IBM size. And I think this better understanding now does give me the perspective that the deal can grow multifold from here, can be a real big thing, can be a game changer. I think the presenters were really good at explaining the entire deal, and I think I'm much more confident about this deal being very significant for Persistent from an overall perspective.
So I attended the continuous engineering session, and while we've been speaking to the company, the management about it, but to hear it from the people who actually run the business, at least give me better clarity on what the product exactly is, whom it's sold to, what is it that Persistence is looking in terms of product enhancement, how the sell with, how you're selling it with IBM, the conferences that they are doing, certain use cases that what we discussed. The only feedback I guess over there was the numbers look large when we talk about IoT and all the trillions and billions and millions, but what is addressable I guess was still fuzzy. But I think it was at least as a first step, it was a great session to at least understand what the product is, whom it's sold to. So that was a useful session for me.
Somebody asked me in the break, so you guys make 4 trillion out of that? And it's like, would love to.
Yeah, so one of the sessions I attended was the shared insight session, and it was interesting because you got to see a live case study of how shared insights can be used to a fund house, something that we can relate to. More importantly, we got to kind of figure out how it compares to Tableau, Domo. I've seen how what Domo does and how it kind of is trying to differentiate itself. I guess the most interesting aspect is seeing it now and then actually seeing the traction when it launches in Jan Feb. Because if it actually launches, then you try and figure out things may look very interesting in the room when it's presented, but then what are the challenges? How does it take off? Is it sales? Is it the product? So that was interesting.
Do you see the government application as well?
Shared insight, no, we didn't see that.
So maybe if you can share, visualize this as an application in whatever you are working on. Like you said, you're not from technology, but in your business, if you have to take this, and how would you see an application of some of these things that we are showcasing? Anybody in any order. I mean, I asked you because you said you're not from technology. But anybody wants to answer that. How do you see this? I mean, a question that a lot of you are asking me. So I wanted to ask you.
I was there at the Vega session for financing, and they were doing a bot chat on Facebook.
Okay.
Trust me, if banking was that simple, I'd love to do it. I think it was a great application.
It is coming. I'm sure it is coming.
So I think a lot of not only the IoT bit, but I think a lot of these, even the hackathon, for example, the social media bit, or a lot of the unstructured data that we have in place, but we cannot analyze. Like, for example, in our industry, we don't know what, you've got soft feedback on what clients think about you, but sometimes we don't know what to make of it. So, such data can be useful for us to kind of gather around, make sense of it. I think a lot of use cases and a lot of, a lot of potential for use, not only in our industry, but every industry. I think I figured that we suffer from a major myopia here. We keep looking at quarters and we keep looking at what's shown to us, but there's a lot more that can be done. And I think the founding steps are being taken here.
So I'll take a stab at this also. One thing that and I guess most of our community does, is when you pick a new company, you try and go through the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years of the annual reports, which is not the annual reports. We are fortunate to live in a world where every management team is leaving behind a digital trail. So everyone comes on television, says something, it's captured somewhere, and then you forget it because it's just noise, and then something else comes. So what we do actually very manually is pick those articles, those annual reports, and manually bucket each piece of information, every subdivision in chronological order, and then actually check, okay, did this really pan out or not pan out? Was it in your control or not in your control? And this is done manually and very painful. If something like machine learning could be put to it, where you go through the annual report and say, okay, for a company which has, say, a biscuit and a dairy division, take all the biscuit comments in chronological order, put it down. That would be very helpful because then you get that digital trail in a much more analytical fashion.
We have always been drawn to look at DuPont analysis and look at the ratios in links with other stuffs in balance sheet and income statement as well. So it would be interesting if we give the outcome to the machine, and then if they could bring out the parameters which we could have otherwise not looked into. So that would be something which I wish is possible.
While they have covered most of the aspects in terms of their and our daily run through what we do at workplace, I think something like this as an investor event, how are investors feeling after stepping out of here, and what is their probably emotion going through in terms of are they positive or negative on the stock, could be of use probably to a lot of people as well.
Right. Yeah, would love to analyze that data and come back and see what happens. We want to do like a one round of questions. Anybody wants to say something on this, because a lot of you attended as well. If you want to ask something, anybody here? Anybody wants to comment on the session itself? Right, so, no more comments here. Maybe one last thing that I had. So now you've looked at, the potential of what we're seeing and what we're trying to showcase, right? And I'm sure you look at broader industry as well. How would you see this in terms of industry, what you're seeing? Can you comment on that? You're seeing the industry broadly doing something similar on similar lines, and we are looking at us. So how do you see whatever you've seen here in context of the industry?
So we have been hearing that of all the deals that are getting renewed. Say earlier, about 70-80% was again going back to traditional, and 20-30 was into transformation or digital proportion. That is increasing now, and because this is getting broken into smaller deals, not the entire $100 are coming back to the incumbent. So that is an area where is a challenge as well to get back the $100, and at the same time opportunity to also take market share from others. And also one interesting thing in the C session was that while there are some verticals like banking is soft right now, but at the same time, driven by IoT, manufacturing, or aero, there is a huge opportunity which can be tapped. So hopefully, companies present in those verticals could still do very well as compared to the sector.
All right, so maybe we can have any closing comments. Anybody wants to say anything?
From the sessions that we've attended and from whatever Anand has been probably orchestrating since so many years since the IPO, I can only say that we've seen the disruption which is caught up with most of us. I think every one of us is in the form of Ola and Ubers of the world. I think it won't be that far. It'll probably be quicker than what we'll anticipate the next disruption in terms of any of the industries that one can think of. We have sensors today in probably everything. Who knew we would be wearing fitness bands which would turn up to be watches as well as an indicators of who's calling you or who's messaging you at that point in time. So it's happening quicker than people are anticipating and probably quicker than any other wave that we've seen in the past in the IT industry.
Just adding to his point, in this scenario, growing or mining the existing clients, or from 1 million to taking into 10 million plus, that's becoming a challenge. So that's what will differentiate a company from.
I'd just like to say big thanks to all the persistent employees. Very, very enthusiastic lot. I was here at 8:30, and from then to now, energy levels haven't dropped. Very young, very the word agile was actually shown to us with the hackathon. So happy to them and congratulations for such a good job.
I guess the only thing I'd like to add is that we've always learned a lot and see how Persistent is trying to do something different, and you guys keep adapting every year. It'd be really amazing maybe if next time around we could get a couple of clients who also come on board to get their perspective. It just add to a more wholesome aspect of what really led from concept to conclusion.
I think each investor day we go back with learning something more about Persistent. We think we know it all, but we know nothing, and it's been one of those days again.
All right, with that, thank you very much to all of you to come here on the stage and share your thoughts.
So thank you everybody for coming on stage and sharing your experiences. I request Munjay to stay on stage for the Q&A session. And I would request Anand and Sunil to come on stage for the last Q&A session. We had requested you to scan the QR codes and stamp the take ports as you go on attending the sessions. So we have a small gift for the investor who has attended maximum number of sessions and has stamped maximum number of tech boards. So the award for most tech traveled investor goes to Rahul Jain from Systematic Shares Broking. Rahul, are you there? So I would request Anand to give that award. Yeah, Munj.
Hey, thanks. Let me give you.
Thank you, Rahul. So the floor is now open for questions. If you have, I mean, I'm sure you must be having a lot of questions, so you can now ask.
Hi, I'm Grishma from Malabar Investments. I wanted your take on ISV business. How is that shaping up for us given the challenges? And the other question was on Accelerate. If you could, highlight how the various IPs are doing there. Thank you.
Take the ISV
Yeah,
question.
yeah, I can cover that. So I'll give you a little broader on the services because services has both ISV and the enterprise bundled inside of that. There are ISVs like there are two, three categories of that. One is the traditional ISV, which are older ones like the HPs and the Microsoft. I wouldn't call in that. Now it has changed dramatically in last 2, 3 years after Satya has come over, right? So the older ones are struggling with the cost structure because the new competition that is coming for them are essentially built on completely new stack and their cost is very different and they are very agile. So they're competing very differently. So they have a different cost pressure. A lot of them are going through different changes. Some of them will end up with a product of our own. For example, the Apuna business that happens, we used to do engineering for them. It became a part of our Accelerate suite. So that will continue. There are new age products which are gaining a lot of traction, and we see a significant new investment in the new age technology. So we are focused on, we have talked about this. We have a team which is focused on selling to startup in Bay Area. Roughly around 10% of our revenue comes from these new tech, the fintech or health tech companies. So that traction is increasing. But what is significantly changing for us is the enterprise. We are seeing a lot of traction in the enterprise sector, and we expect that to start to grow significantly. So while traditional ISV will continue to be challenged in the short term because of the shrinkage of the pie, a lot of our customers have been like a traditional ISV business. We will expect the shift to start to see results to the enterprise, and that number should go up.
On the enterprise side, on the Accelerate side, if you could highlight how the various IPs are doing, especially on the HPCA
Correct.
and
So I can give you a little bit of a commentary on that. So there are three main IPs that we are selling on Accelerate. One set is around Radia, which is the HPCA product. And what we have done there is two sets of things. One is that when we got the product, it was traditionally Windows PC type product. We have now upgraded that to work against all kinds of platforms, including MacBooks, mobile phones, ATM machines, all kinds of other activities. So that's been good. So we have been able to retain most of the customers that we got after the first year. The first year we had some attrition of customers, but after that things have been fairly stable. The challenge, of course, has been that the new versions of Windows and the new versions of MacBooks are not as conducive to tracking as they used to be before. So we have to keep the product upgraded and updated all the time. One other new feature that we have added on that product has been this stuff which is around what we call sentient. So here's what we were doing on Radia. What Radia would do is you define a policy upfront that says you want to upgrade these many machines this week, or this kind of upgrades you want to do, and things like that. But they were not necessarily real-time planning on this kind of activity. So what we have implemented now in Sentient is this ability to do real-time query and updates on these kinds of devices. So for example, if you have a security situation in which you all of a sudden find out that a certain virus signature is happening to those machines which have not been patched up, then you can run a query and say find all those machines who have this kind of a problem and go patch only selectively those machines. So that feature we have added right now in the product. It's in trials in a few customer places, and we'll see how that looks in terms of the trials getting through in the next 3 months. So that's the status on Radia. We have actually upped our investment quite a bit on the Epona IoT side. So that was the product that we took from Intel. And what we found is that because of all the action that we are seeing in IoT, and especially because of all the work that we are doing with IBM and various other places, we have taken that Epona IoT assets into two parts. One is a telecom company part, which is going fine, and we have then taken the Epona IoT assets, including the billing engine, and migrated it to work in a cloud independent and a cloud agnostic manner. So we have Epona Concert, as it's called, running on AWS, Azure, and IBM Bluemix. So we are one of the few platforms that run across the things. And one major thing that we have done in the context of Epona and other places is that instead of selling device integration, we are selling a monetization platform for IoT rather than a device integration platform. So we had already a billing module which was appropriate for the telecom carriers. We have extended that quite a bit. And the focus on our IoT platform has been to do this as a monetization layer. We are selling as through partners mostly right now, and we are talking to a lot of customers. So that's the stuff going on the Epona side. The telecom business is stable, but I don't expect it to grow dramatically. And then the third big product that we have is Cloud Stack. That's fairly stable. We haven't been investing very aggressively in that at the moment. But I don't know if you track this area very carefully, but there has been a lot of discontent around the biggest competitor for Cloud Stack, which is OpenStack. So OpenStack was the main competitor that we had for Cloud Stack, and lots of people had invested in it. But in the last, I would say 3 months, more than 1,000 people have been laid off in the OpenStack world because of the fact that they have not been able to deliver to a promise. We have a running platform that works, and it's been there for a while, so all that is doing well. And we have a new sort of migration tool that should get announced. But overall, I would say that at the moment the Accelerite portfolio is operating at a fairly optimal level, in the sense that we have our expenses and product revenue in sync. The growth on product revenue will happen with the new products that get launched. Now, depends on how fast we want to launch them and how aggressively we want to spend on them. But we should have more of that in the next quarter. So this year we should see Epona maintaining profitability but not very high growth rates.
And HPCA would grow this year?
It will be stable. It won't grow dramatically, but the margins and sort of the effectiveness has improved by reducing. We have changed some of the way we are looking at these teams.
Thank you so much.
The growth on Epona will happen if the Sentient product, which is in trial, gets traction. And then we have to make some big calls on how aggressively we want to market and sell that product at that time. Till that happens, the growth on the Radia product will be by and large flat. But the profitability will improve. There was a question somewhere. Somebody raised a hand here. Yeah. Actually, you are very audible.
Okay.
The auditorium, you can hear from anywhere in the room. It's not a problem. We don't necessarily need a mic.
Yeah. So just wanted to continue on the services piece. Just wanted to understand, with the traditional ISP piece going down and the enterprise coming in, what kind of growth do you see? And do you see, I think the gross margin currently is upwards of 40%. Do you see that being maintained? And what percentage of persistence revenue do you see subsystems like contributing, let's say 5 years down the line?
All right, so let's take one by one. Right, 5-year forecast is like Manmohan Singh said, in long term everyone is dead. So we'll leave that. See, the business services business, the cost structure is it adjusts to the market, right? So I don't anticipate a dramatic shift in the margin profile of the services business because there is a little bit of, and I'm sure you're aware of the changes in the US because of the new president-elect coming in, and there's a lot of apprehension around that. We are pretty much covered. I think roughly today we are 46.7% local population in the US, for example. Okay, the tipping point is 50%. So if you are more than 50% population which is local, you are pretty much considered like a US organization in terms of immigration and rules around that. So we are not worried about that aspect. Now, if you look at from a business perspective, we have talked about the last 2 quarters because we're trying to clean up and make sure. See, when we created these 4 units, right? So we chose consciously a strategy for these units. Services unit, we said, look, we want to build long-term sticky relationship because we want to make sure that certain specific customers that we deliberately choose, we want to go aggressively after whatever they're trying to do and be relevant to them, right? And in last 2-3 quarters, we have tried to make sure that anyone which we don't think they're strategic or they don't think we are strategic to them, either way, right, we have cut them off, right? So we are not doing business with them. And now what we have done is we are investing heavily in this specific verticals. So we have financial services, we have telecom, media, we have life sciences, healthcare companies. And in those verticals, in those specific clients, we're building a portfolio of offering that is relevant to these specific customers, right? And it is going to take time for us to, make that like a super growth. But we are very confident that it will be like a normal growth. It won't be a super turbocharged growth. It will be like a normal growth portfolio. And the cost structure is not going to be dramatically different because we are already, if you look at, right, we are almost like 12-13% on site. So our offshoring is quite high, and we'll continue. If anything, it might improve a little bit. There is a enterprise traction that we are seeing, and that will increase growth rate a little bit. But there is not going to be a dramatic shift in the immediate term, okay, from a growth perspective. Over a period of time, if we are able to build this kind of a business model around existing customers, we are able to mine them properly. We are able to have a suite of offering that is relevant to all of these customer segment that we are selling to. It is possible to grow this. How much? I think it's too early to comment on it. 5 years, we have talked about multi-billion. We don't have a number saying will be X billion and this will be Y million or whatever billion out of that. So we'll leave that. But definitely we think that this has a potential to grow, not dramatically.
Sure.
Just a small observation.
Can you identify yourselves as well?
Mayur Parkar from Wealth Managers.
Yes.
Just a small observation. In your opening session, the first session, when you highlighted what the company is doing, and one of the point was partnering was the strategy. Salesforce name did not came up there. Was
it was there. It was no.
I saw Oracle, IBM, but was it just a question or?
No. Salesforce is very much a big partner of ours.
Yeah,
we are
I
a
understand.
platinum partner for Salesforce, and actually we just became platinum 2 weeks
for that
back.
healthcare.
For the healthcare work that we are doing. So Salesforce is a big one. We did not get a specific Partner of the Year award on Salesforce this year, which we got for all the others this year.
Just wondering why the name was just.
No, I didn't have explicit names as such. The other platform chart which was there had the names of all the integration partners. So there's a data integration partner list that we had that I had put up there, and I had mentions of IBM and Appian because we won an award there. But no, very much. Salesforce is a very robust practice for us. We are doing quite well. It's grown quite significantly this year, and we expect a fairly ambitious growth for it next year. And today we are one of the larger ones, amongst this kind of a market, especially in the healthcare side.
Munjay, how has been your experience now that Obviously, as a head of a particular vertical, it's you are more responsible for driving the sales, and obviously cost is important, but sales is the primary. But now when you're heading the P&L, how has been your experience, and just share something?
Apart from travel? Yeah, I've been traveling a lot. I've been meeting a lot of customers. I think it's a great experience because you get to firsthand talk to people who are making buying decisions, who are evaluating pros and cons of what they're trying to do, how they choose partner, why they're choosing partner. So it's been great experience, meeting a lot of these people. And I have shared some of this. I think we have talked about it, a window which is open because people are going through a massive change. I think somebody on our panel said the change is coming much faster than we anticipated. And I can corroborate to that because right now there's a significant shift in terms of buying behavior, in terms of the technology adoption. I mean, chatbots like a year ago was, yeah, it's a nice and fancy thing. Today, everybody who is in charge of customer experience, any type of interaction, is saying, I got to have chatbot in my system. Without that, I don't want to put a system. So things are moving much, much, much quickly, and that has been a great experience. And we have a good way to manage the cost and align the. This is a good way to manage both market and the capability, and hopefully we will see outcome of that soon.
In your blockchain session, there was a poster which says every number tells a story and every story can be told by a number. And we understand number. So, what has been your priority for the next year in terms of P&L? If you can just understand data.
I know you're trying to plot the Excel, so Mayur. See, it's the numbers are, you will get to see the numbers when we, deliver that. See, the priority has been twofold, right? I mean, three things. Okay, I'll give you three things, and I kind of cover that in the earlier answer. One is we are trying to go after in a product segment what I call like the born in the cloud companies, right? So we are trying to sell to a very startup ecosystem, which is either a fintech or a health tech companies, right? That's one priority. My second priority is to sell to enterprises because all the enterprises that we are dealing with, they are all taking a massive transformation decision right now. So they have decided, see, one thing is clear, people are signing up for a journey of transformation. They are not signing up a contract of transformation, which is very different. Okay, when you sign up for a journey of transformation, you want to partner with a company which understands how can you help them, go this whole data, API, device experience, and they want to work with companies who have experience of doing that. They understand that. So this is a time when they're actually choosing partnership in enterprise, and we are signing up with a lot of them. Some of the names are very visible, you know them, and some of them we have signed up, but we can't announce that. So that's the second thing. So enterprise, and we track enterprise revenue. So as a company level, we are not sharing that as a services unit level, but company level, we have talked about enterprise service revenue, and we have said the best way to track the enterprise shift is look at the revenue quarter on quarter basis, right? So from the time we started to publish, I think it was 19.2%, and last quarter we did 27.6%. So on a quarter to quarter basis, we are actually making that shift, and it's very visible that our strategy of calling out enterprise digital transformation has been right, and we have managed to do the shift. We will continue that. I mean, that is definitely something that is a priority. And one last thing that I would call it out is, see, all of these companies are also building software-like products. So it's not just about new technology. They're trying to build software very differently. They're changing the way they structure it, the way they run it. Like they're fixing the time, and they're making sure they do incremental feature release on a regular basis. And that is where Persistent has a good USP, because we have been doing that for 20 plus years. And that segment is expanding very rapidly. And the reason they're changing that is because it's very difficult for them to predict whether this particular app will be there, this particular technology will be there tomorrow, or something else will come up. So they want to build a very open kind of system, and we are seeing increasing traction of that. So I hope that gives you a little color on what the priorities are.
Anand, last time we spoke, you were talking about IBM doing a couple of large IoT conferences, and you're talking about how the growth for that business will also be determined by how the response over there would be. Maybe just some comments around that would be great.
Right. So we were part of a few conferences in the last quarter. And, so one thing I can say is that the CCLM products that Mark's running, we have very good interest from our customers. We have shown them our roadmap of what we are planning to build for next year, and everyone wants a lot more. Okay. So that's the good news part of it. However, a lot more means you have to spend. Now that we are in this model where we are building first and then making money as it gets sold, it's not necessarily always good to have customers wanting a lot more. A little bit more would be better. Right now, they want a lot of things as well. But they like what we have, they like the roadmap. So that's good news. And it's always good to have customers who like what we are giving them and they want more. The other thing on the other side, which is the services side of the business, we've been working with IBM much more closely now. We have reached several sales individuals from IBM who are selling assorted IoT services, and they now know about us and are talking about us to the customers. So we are getting far more visibility. However, the organization as such is pretty hard to figure out. So there are, I would say we are not exactly where I would have liked to see us yet, but hopefully we'll see some flywheel effect on the work that we are doing. So once we get a few customers excited, then hopefully we'll see more. IBM is a very large company, as you know. They have a very large number of salespeople. The organization is quite matrixed, and it's every time we find something, we find that we know so little. It's what we have been chasing right now. But I'm still quite hopeful about where we are right now.
I'm gonna ask you.
I don't know if Mark wants to add anything to this.
Can I just follow up with a quick, boring financial question?
Yes.
On IBM, when we did this acquisition, we were talking about a certain loss, and then that loss narrowing, and obviously turning profitable, and the business being large. From what you've seen so far, and that if customers are expecting more, does the trajectory of how much money this business loses initially
No, we are not changing anything right now. The trajectory is the same. I think we are on track for what we said we would do by and large for this year. It's still 15 days to go, and it's very hard to say. Again, it's 2 levels away from where we are sitting, so I don't see the customer traction or the pipeline. I'm further away. So I understand from the sales guys that there are still 15 days, and traditionally that's sort of when a lot of the activity happens. So we'll only know the real numbers at the end of the year in early January. But from what indications I get from the people, people seem to be at track at what they had projected. So we should be in the same range for this financial year. For next year, again, we have to manage some of these things, but I think by and large we are tracking quite well. I'm very happy to say that when we started the project, there were large number of open risk items, such as whether people will stay, what will happen, customers will run away, are we going to run into all kinds of issues. I'm very happy to say that 8 months down the line, 9 months in the process, IBM itself will tell you that this has been a tremendous success from their point of view. And I'm very confident that this will help in getting us long-term revenues. All of these things, see, the other thing I must admit here is that now that we are trying to do many more things through like one level removed in terms of, a lot of our fortunes to some extent are not directly dependent on my billing dollars per hour this month. I'm dependent on a product we are building that IBM is selling, and then we're going to see the money back. It's a good learning experience for us. Same is true with partnerships as well. We are dependent a lot more on many of the other things. But what this has done is we have far bigger access to the market because of these partnerships. But managing partnerships in itself is not a trivial task. And we've added Jackie White, who is not here today because I want her to be in the field. this quarter, not be here with you. But she'll come when we are done with the quarter. But yeah, I mean, she's focused on partnerships right now. She has done that before, and we are hoping that that's sort of the key to getting this to work well. Yeah.
I'm Ronak Onkar with PPFS Mutual Fund. I have to thank the entire organization of Persistent to host us like every year. And I get to learn a lot whenever I come here for these sessions. I just have one question. So, we heard a lot of different things today. Could you just explain what are the reasons why you have not won several contracts when you were competing with, say, the incumbent IT services players? Any examples if you could give me, or just a reason why some client did not choose you over them?
Yeah, so I can tell you the one which we are currently in the midst of that. We started with 10 companies competing on it, okay? And this is a double-digit multi-billion-dollar company which is embarking on a transformation journey. When we started this whole discussion, we sat down and they said, we have a roadmap. And we said, yeah, great. And we started talking about what we have been doing. And the immediate connect was that this is a company which understands what digital transformation means. We natively understand what it means to do and what it takes to actually get it done, right? So that's a big differentiation. So they see us as a company which has been a thought leader, and we understand what is required to transform their business from a technology perspective. This whole positioning of how that we accomplish is very, very important. The second thing which the CIO called out very, very clearly, he says, look, you are not at the same size, and that is to your same size as the competition, and that's an advantage because you can react much more quickly. And as an example, if they want to, and we have kind of discussed that during the course of it, if you are able to create can you put 50 ideas to change things rather than just coming and saying, hey, here are like 500 people that is available to do the job. So the way you react very quickly by doing show and tell, like the hackathon that you saw today, we do this on a regular basis for our customers. So when they visit us, we will have like a bunch of hackathons done and find a solution that some random problems that we have identified or they have thrown at us, and then we'll solve that and show it to them saying these are the potential. And the third, which I think somebody alluded to, is the people that we bring on the programs are very, very different. We bring very deep technology expertise. And if you put these three, right, I mean, what they're looking for is, can they trust a company which can, from the capability perspective, can they trust a company which understands what they're going through? And at the end of the day, they have a job to do. They have to deliver an outcome. And can they go with somebody, to actually partner who can help them in this whole journey. So, I mean, this is a recent example. This was fairly large, thing at stake right now. But these are many of them like this. They are looking at, I mean, there are clients who are approaching us to be like a sounding board, and and Anand is a sounding board to one of the large enterprise where he's giving them advice on how they should strategize their next phase of technology transformation. This is a fairly large financial services company.
No, so again, going back to your question, we are not losing deals to to other competitors. It's like we are not seen and we are not, okay, there is two sets of things happening. We are not trying to chase the really large, okay, I have this whole IT project running for the last 5 years. I'm going to do a new contract update on that particular thing, 10,000 people, 5,000 people. We are not trying to go after that market really. We want to go after the next generation digital market. We want to go after the new stuff rather than just the old migration. So that's sort of where our focus is. And it's not like we are losing deals. So we have deliberately felt that for us to get into that next generation market, partner strategy would be more appropriate than trying to do it ourselves. And that has a function of how much you want to spend in sales and marketing in a new area where you have no presence at all. So that's what we are trying to do, and I think we are on track. And we are not trying to go after the 25 million and $50 million deals. I think 5 million, 3 to 10 million range is our bigger range of projects. 3 to 5 is a very sweet spot for us, and a lot of these next generation transformation projects are going to be in that zone.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Neeraj Mara.
We don't
Oh,
see
yeah.
you. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So the first question I had was, see, we are seeing a lot of interesting things that in terms of, am I audible?
Yeah, you are
Yeah,
audible.
in terms of new products, in terms of various technologies. I just wanted to ask is, how is the monetization of this going to be done? Because the earlier methods of billing the clients, charging clients, which was basically per hour basis. You have got 200 people ka team basis. All these will not be relevant. So the monetization of this, how are the sales model? How is
Correct.
the billing model? How does it work?
Okay, so let me give you one thing that we have already on our website for IBM, which is called the flywheel approach. So what we are telling customers is that you come to us for 3 months. We will charge you between 150 and 250K for a 3-month project. And the idea is that we will build 3 agile cycles. You will see 2 cycles generating experiences, a certain set of experiences, certain set of APIs, and some data connectors. And we will do this for 3 months for say 250K. And at the end of 2-3 months, you have the option of turning this off and doing nothing. You'll get a report and you can call it off quits. And you would have experimented with what being digital means and what it means to do IoT stuff. Now, if you like this and you want to continue with this, keep paying us that kind of money every month. And we'll keep running these agile cycles every month. Okay? And in each cycle, you will see this. These cycles are counted on stories, typically user stories. This is how you track on agile stuff. So when we are saying we are going to deliver 3 experiences every cycle, which is a 4-week cycle, that's a unit of what's going to get delivered. So customers quite understand that. And then the idea is to say, get into a monthly rhythm that says we were going to generate X number of user experiences every month for you. And every month we will run a hackathon, tell you what you're looking for. And we have this methodology which we call the swarm and spread. So we swarm into a hackathon, we build the thing 3 weeks out. 1 week after that, we push it back into production and it's available. So that way we are doing this whole requirement gathering through hackathons. So nobody is writing proposals and RFPs anymore. And you run this like a rhythm, and every month you charge a certain amount of money, 100K a month, 200, 125K a month. And the idea is that we will maintain and run it for you. It's not just it's a managed pay-per-use service. You can shut it off anytime. But if you want to transfer this so that you run it yourselves, we don't want us to continue to run it, but you want to run it, and there's a transfer fee that you do one time. So that's the kind of model that we are trying out with IBM right now. This is what we have given to the IBM sales guys to sell. Because when we work with these kind of third parties and partners, they need something that is kind of take this and execute. There is no opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to give you can I come and do an analysis and let me come and do a workshop and figure out what you need to do, because the sales guys can't, this back and forth doesn't work very well. So they need a model that says, okay, here's what you're going to get, and you might win some, lose some. That's something we'll evolve. Whether it's 250 the right number or should it be 500, that will come through discovery rather than through pre-site. But the point you should note is that when I'm telling somebody that we're going to give you 250K, first cycle is just getting things together. Second, third cycle, you will see, let's say 4 experiences and 4 experiences, 8 APIs and, say 5 data sets connected. I've not talked about people, headcount, bodies, rates. It's about, a rhythm that we are selling. And we are calling this the flywheel approach to selling. So it's a flywheel. You keep building this thing and as you get going, you get more and more things. So this is one option. In another case, we are doing a deal where we have a partnership with a fairly large group, and I don't want to say anything more because we will announce this fairly soon when we get it done. But we are co-building a set of environment around a whole bunch of things where we have, so this is a very good brand, okay, that we are working with, and I'm going to say no more. But that idea is that whatever we are building there, we will have joint ownership of reselling that to other parties as well. So a lot of this domain gaps that people point out for us, we are trying to fill through partners. So we will work with somebody and we'll kind of work together with them, and then we are investing in IP with a customer in the picture rather than doing it on our own. And that will give us some access and credibility to sell to other people. So that's really the model, and we are trying very hard to get to a model where we are not charging customers on dollars per hour for effort. And the reason I'm trying to do this, and we've said this many times, and I believe that the effort required for the same work is going to keep going down. And if you are dependent only on effort as your way for billing, we have a problem. So the pricing models that we have kind of evolved in the Indian IT market for the last 20, 25 years need to change dramatically. And one change we have done is IP. 28% of our revenue comes from IP. In the next 2 years, or even next 1 year, I'd like to see the services, the digital business start to show more than half their revenues to more than that revenue coming out of licenses, IP, and these kinds of rhythm that we are selling.
Just one more. Second question was on the HR side. So unlike the earlier models where let's say a company, IT company can hire, let's say, a civil engineer, train him for 3 months, make him billable, and start. Now the way you are doing things, that because you will need good talent. So how are you going about, first and foremost, the hiring, and secondly the training? So going forward, do you foresee any talent shortage or gap on that?
No, I don't see a talent shortage. I don't see a talent gap because I think it's the other way around right now. I'm more worried from the other side. There are more people than the jobs that are available. But I think programmers are going to rule the world, okay? And we are going to hire more. We are hiring more and more programmers. So that's really the thing. And, that's basically the India side of the equation is mostly about programmers. Of course, when we are working with customers, we are going to need people who understand what we have to build, the BAs, the domain, and all that. Those are guys who are going to be hired potentially locally in the sort of the market where we are operating. But the platform and the engineering is all going to come from programmers. I know we are sort of at nearly 4:30. I want to finish this session in 4 minutes because it's 4:26. People have to go back, and it's a Friday evening. I'll take one last question if someone has any, and otherwise we will request you to send your questions by email. And we are, of course, available to answer anything else you might need. I just want to make one last comment. I think yesterday we made an announcement from my father about him trying to move his. So so I just want to give you a little bit of comment on that. So my father, who you may have all met, he has been part of the company for many years. He retired after he turned 75 5 years back. He's now 80, and he has decided, and he has sort of put that up there, that he wants to. I don't know whether it's called gift or something, but he wants to move the stock that he owns in his personal name into the foundation that he has created called Rama Purushottam Foundation. It's his parents' names. And the idea there is to then from there he's trying to use this for mainly charitable purposes. And what we told him is that as kids is that, he should, while he's still fit and understands, is doing well, since he wants to distribute that money to charity, he should do it while he knows what he's doing, and he's doing it willingly and all that, rather than telling us that, eventually he'd give it to somebody. So that's what's going on. So there's nothing that is sort of, it looks like he's selling shares, but it's not that he's running away from the company. But I think, at this stage in his life, he prefers that it should go to a good cause.
So then why don't you disclose the stock exchange?
It is disclosed. No, that was also disclosed. Earlier also disclosed. Everything has been disclosed.
They only give the name of the.
No, there was a declaration on this. We had made a declaration last year. When he turned 80 on his 80th birthday, he had put last year as well. There was a declaration and an announcement that he had put out from his own name, saying that over a period of 1 year, he's going to sell so many shares and no more for charitable and those kinds of purposes.
Press doesn't say no. Press says the promoter.
Well, press doesn't always read everything that is written up. There's another news item we've exchanged to the SEBI or whatever yesterday as well, again, where he has given a full detailed plan of how much he owns, what he is going to do with it, and where it's going to go. And that has been disclosed yesterday, and we are following 100% disclosure on everything else, and we're not planning to kind of do the market game at all. And it's all being done in the right windows as well. And again, he has been donating to a hospital in Nagpur, and they had some things to be done, so he sold some shares on that. But we think that it's the right thing to do as promoters. The whole point is to, whatever wealth has been created is not for whatever, it's not for inheritance, it's more for the society that he wants to participate in. So that's really what's going on. And I had some questions from someone about what's going on, so I thought I'd clarify that. Okay, I'd like to thank all of you for being here and spending your day with us. I hope all of these experiences are excellent for us as well, because we learn a lot from you. So this has been a mutually very useful and happy day for us. We always want to learn from you in terms of what we should do next year. We'll have this again. Next year will be our 8th one, and if you have any things that you found that we didn't do right today, please let us know. We'll make sure we fix that for the next one. I also want to take this opportunity to thank a large number of people wearing black shirts today who were working very hard for the last few days. Several of them have not slept for the last few nights, and production like this takes a lot of effort, and it's just a lot of work. And I must thank all the Persistent team members who really worked hard and enthusiastically putting this show together. Whether it's the hackathon, you'd have seen that at least there were like 100 people at the least who were all over the place. So thank you all, and thank you investors for being here, and we'll see you again next year. Thank you very much.